it can't be a guessing game, because otherwise you're going to just waste money on thinking that this is the best thing for the business, when in reality the data is showing this, and this data is correct.
Welcome to the Traffic Handler Podcast. We're about getting new customers, making more sales, and growing your e-commerce retail business. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. Today's episode features a conversation I had with Cameron Blake of Ashford Creative, a digital agency that helps clients generate business outcomes and accelerate growth through creative solutions, innovative strategies, and marketing campaigns. With over 300 projects and campaigns managed, Cameron and his team know how important it is to let data guide design and strategy. We had fun having this conversation today. I've worked with Cameron for a number of years now, and it was good to kick back and throw ideas around about projects that we had collaborated on. Enjoy today's episode. Let's have some fun.
Let's do it.
All right. So everybody, I want to welcome Cameron Blake to the podcast today. It's fun. This will be a fun episode for me particularly, because Cameron and I work together, and one of the things that I like to offer in the business is you can be a fly on the wall, watch other businesses take off, and learn a lot on the way. So every time I talk to Cameron, I learn tons, because he's the WordPress guy. And when I go to Ashford Creative and I go and talk to Cameron, it's because I'm out of ideas on tech, and he's got all the answers and all the resources, and it's WordPress solutions and a whole lot more. So we're going to cover a lot of that today, and whatever else comes up, because really now you're a fly on the wall and you're listening to a couple of, tech people who know how to move the needle for big businesses. So, Cameron Blake, welcome to the podcast. Great.
Thanks, Amy.
I'm
happy to be here. Yeah. I'm happy to maybe give some people some insight on some of our conversations that we always have. We have quite a few of them, and a lot of it is good ideas and solving problems. And, I think we're a good team at that. So I'm excited to chat today for sure.
Yep. It's really going to be great. And you're right. It is all about the solutions, because business is about solving problems. Any kind of business, whether you're big in healthcare, or you're big in retail, or you're big in, what are some of the other ones that we've worked on? I mean, a lot. It's about solving problems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think another one would be brick and mortar.
Yeah.
We've done a couple of those, and it's really just kind of stepping back and understanding what the problem is. We talk a lot about everybody thinks they know the solution, but they don't really know the solution. One of your big things is asking why. Why do you want to do that? And we've kind of added that into our aspects of our business too, is trying to really understand it, because pushing just a service or something like that just because that's what they think they need is not necessarily the best thing for the business.
That's right.
And so just kind of taking a step back and let's look at all the options and see what's going to generate the most revenue, the most ROI for the business. So
yeah
really fun to kind of go through these, because every project's different.
Every single one. Yeah.
It's kind of,
and I'm really glad that you started there too, because so many people think, let's just start running ads and let's go. How many people have you and I worked with? How many businesses of all different sizes where they're not necessarily ready for paid traffic?
Yeah, no, I mean, the technical side has to be set up. The analytics has to be installed. The Facebook pixel has to be installed. All of that stuff has to be set up before you're ready to start doing that. And ideally, months before you're ready to start doing that, because you want to be able to gather that information and use that to, create the ads.
That's right.
Or make decisions based on the data that you receive in Google Analytics. Because otherwise you're just kind of guessing, right? And we all think we know what the best option is, but the data is going to tell us.
Yeah. Every time. I tell people all the time, listen, we're not going to make decisions based on things that you and I like because our opinions matter little. It's the
Sure.
market that will tell us. It's the customers and clients and, the people who want whatever it is that we're selling. Those are the people whose opinions we want, and we want them to vote with their wallets.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
data, metrics, dollars.
Yeah, it when you break it down like that, it's pretty simple,
Yeah.
but it's kind of it's just a process that needs to be followed. And it's just it can't be a guessing game because otherwise you're going to just waste money on thinking that this is the best thing for the business when in reality the data is showing this and this data is correct, you
Yep.
know,
Yep. Yeah, the numbers tell the story.
for sure.
And you could lie with numbers, but if you're looking at raw data, you're looking at a story.
Yeah.
And there have been many times when you and I have been looking at, let's say we go into Google Analytics or Google Search Console and we're looking at all the information that the traffic and or lack of traffic in some cases gives to a business, and it tells you what the next step should be
Right.
all the time.
Yeah. It's right there for you.
A lot of fun. So one of the things, I'm looking at my notes over here. One of the things that you and I run into a lot is platform specific. We've had some clients that had custom websites, but for the most part, we're looking at Shopify or WordPress. And we've worked on a couple of projects, even just in the last year, about, are they going to choose WordPress or Shopify? And you're the guy with the WordPress chops, but I've also brought you in on some of the more technical things with the Shopify. Um, let's jam just for a minute on how to choose which one you're looking at.
Sure. I think that there's actually a couple more than that as well. You have your WooCommerce, which is WordPress, and then you have your Shopify. Square is another one that
Mhm.
can be used as an online store. It's not nearly as intuitive as Shopify or even WooCommerce, but that's definitely an option. And then another one would be BigCommerce. I don't know
Yeah,
if you've done any work with them.
I have.
But I would say that they're probably more of a wholesale type um, e-commerce platform. They can do all kinds of stuff. Of course, they're a big competitor to Shopify, but I think every e-commerce platform kind of serves a purpose. If you're looking at Square, I would say it's probably very small brick and mortar boutiques that just want to get online. They
Mhm.
just want to get online, have something there, be able to manage inventory effectively and sell in store. Shopify, in my opinion, is more geared towards people that are focused on selling online. And then the great thing about Shopify is that you can sign up for the point of sale and also sell in store, or maybe you're at a convention and you have all this product that you can sell at the convention too, and everything kind of goes together and inventory's managed and all that. And then WooCommerce, um I feel like it's more of a kind of an extension of a core business. I don't know, like if you're an e-commerce first store, I don't think that WooCommerce is the best option. uh, don't get me wrong, like you can build any kind of store on WooCommerce. It's a fine platform. But if you're, hold me against the wall, it's choose one. I'm going to pick Shopify if we're running something through, if you have a main e-commerce business selling spices or something like that, and
Mhm.
that's your brand. With WooCommerce, there's it's kind of insane what all you can do. I've actually built a ticketing platform off of WooCommerce
I love that. Yeah.
that actually integrates into Square, and we use Square point of sale at the event itself. So all the reporting is in Square. All the tickets are handled through WooCommerce. They actually sends emails with the tickets and prints them off, and then we scan them in at the ticket booth, or if they want to purchase tickets, they do it through Square. But then all the reporting's right there.
Mhm.
So you can use multiple platforms
Mhm.
to based on what your needs are.
Yeah.
It can get complicated. You can keep it very simple. It kind
Mhm.
of depends. Another thing is the inventory management aspect of it, which, I mean, once you get into that, I mean, that's a whole nother ball game. If you're selling on multiple channels, on Amazon, on Shopify, Etsy, whatever,
Mhm.
there's a lot of channels you got to handle, multi-channel. So that's a different ballgame. So it kind of just depends on what where the company is at that point in time. How much money they have to spend is another big part of that. And you know what are they trying to accomplish? How easy are they going to want to make it on themselves,
Yeah.
or do they want to make it a little bit harder but cheaper? Or so it just kind of depends.
It's usually not quite that simple either. It's like, okay, if I
Yeah.
have 10 grand to build a store, um, you know, figuring out also the cost of goods, profit margins after marketing costs, any overhead. Are we drop shipping? Do we have to manage a warehouse? Are we using 3PL for fulfillment?
Yep.
Facebook, FBA, um, merchant fulfill. I mean, like there's so
See, I
many.
was trying to keep it simple, and you just
Oh, no,
made
no,
it
no. I'm gonna
complicated.
I'm gonna throw the whole bed against the wall. That's it. Today's episode is sponsored by Schema app for Shopify. Connect with customers at the beginning of their buying journey. Adding structured data to your Shopify store helps search engines better understand your website. This increases the chance of customers finding and purchasing products and services like yours. Get started today at schemaapp.com, schemaapp.com. Um, so, I think for listeners specifically, it's, choosing a platform just based on your capacity for the technology, your team's capacity for technology, and building systems around all of that. Is that
Yeah.
kind of what you were?
Yeah. So I would say, from a core business standpoint, like you said, like a content writer, copywriter, maybe you want to sell ebooks.
Mhm.
Maybe you want to sell some t-shirts or hats if you have that sort of a brand.
Mhm.
But it's not your main business. So maybe you have some type of service that you do. Um, Maybe it's consulting, and then you have these additional packages. So it's just kind of like being able to plug it into the website to where it's all on the same domain, and it's just very clean. Everybody that, there's a smooth checkout experience, all of that. One thing I see with people sometimes with Shopify is, they'll have like a main site that's built on WordPress, and then they have their Shopify store, and it's like, it's not even a clean domain or
Mhm.
URL. It's like my Shopify URL. And it's just little things like that that I think you can improve. You can just do, and
Yeah.
it improves the whole experience. Even if you do have your store on Shopify, just make it shop.yourdomain.com,
Yep.
to make it cleaner, and you can kind of link back and forth between the two to give them a clean experience, and really understand your business and all that. So I don't know. Did I answer your question? I kind of rambled.
Absolutely. And you opened up like 8 more doors. So, like the one that I'm going to walk through is customer experience,
Hmm.
user experience, UX. Um, and so, looking at the domain or the subdomain. So, the subdomain in that example that you just gave, for anybody who's not familiar, shop is the subdomain, dot mystore.com. So, mystore.com, my store is the domain. And just looking at little details like that is part of the elegance in putting together the whole project. One of my favorites is favicons.
Hmm.
every time I look at a website and I see just that little 16 by 16 pixel picture on the tab in the browser, that tells me that whoever built that actually knows about the details that can go into a store
Yeah.
and, store branding. And branding isn't where we start, but it certainly is an important part of the journey, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's funny. I had a partner of mine that mentioned that as we were reviewing a site to get ready to launch. She's like, I saw you put the favicon up there. That's awesome. So that was, it's just little things like that are super important. When you talk about customer experience, I think it's important just to like not overdo it.
Yeah.
Don't like just keep it simple.
Yeah.
It's we always talk about the customer journey, right? When they land on the page, whether it's a store, whether it's a corporate site, whatever it is, it's got to guide the user from point A to point B. They like you guide them, you tell them where you want them to go,
Yeah.
to take an action. If it's fill out a form, if it's a phone call, if it's to purchase a best-selling product, maybe you only have two or three products, get them to where they can make that decision very easily.
Yeah.
There's some sites where it takes you 12 clicks to get to where you want to go, and
No.
that's just terrible user
I always
experience.
tell members in my group, you got to make it dirt dumb simple and
Mhm.
make it stupid easy for people just to empty their wallets into your shopping cart.
Yeah, but I will say, just because it's simple doesn't mean it needs to look simple too. There are very important things that you can do, such as adding imagery in to give it some life. Choosing the right font, that is a big thing for me. Choosing the right font, like, let's not do Comic Sans.
Oh gosh,
Um,
no, no,
you know, it's got to be a clean font that matches the brand and the product.
no.
And there are some premium fonts that you can choose that can change the entire look of a website. So
Yeah,
that goes into user experience too. And then just, the difference of colors. Choosing colors is also big because you know, a super bright red button that says buy now is not necessarily gonna gonna be the best choice in a lot of regards.
right, right.
Um, so there's all kinds of things in user experience, and it really just it kind of depends on what they're offering.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And excuse me, other things like what was the one that I was just thinking of? Product descriptions.
Hmm.
If you're looking at an e-commerce store, product descriptions, collection descriptions, alt tags,
Yeah,
meta tags, some of my favorite things are just they're hidden,
yeah.
but and they're not optional. Structured data, not optional.
I
There's
think
just
the
so much.
product descriptions is I know that other stuff's important too, but from what people can look at if they go visit a site, maybe
Hmm.
they listen to this and they start browsing sites and like, okay, I'm kind of getting an idea, how does Amazon do it? How does Best Buy do it?
Yeah.
Even I'm trying to think of some other non large retail store. um but just look at it, like, how do they lay out the product descriptions?
Right.
What kind of icons do they use to draw attention to, some important things that they want to highlight? How are the images laid out? Is it clean? Is it clean on mobile and on desktop? It's because those are two different experiences too.
Hmm. Right.
And making sure that it all kind of flows together is super important.
Every time. Every time. And things like not just the not just the words, but are you saying enough about what the product is? Here's another one. How your competitors are doing things. Are they
Yeah.
doing something that we should, I'm never going to say steal, but you could appropriate, some aspects of how your competitors do things, or you want to do the polar opposite to
Yeah,
stand out,
sure.
you know?
I think I'm thinking back to just kind of something simple that we did for back probably 2 years ago. She had this jewelry site, and it's very, she was pretty successful with it. But she needs some help, like just kind of cleaning it up and making it easier.
Mhm.
And so what we did was we got our new theme. We reorganized the sitemap, the menu up top, and we added some of those little circle color selections,
Yes.
um, and just kind of reorganized it. And her sales went through the roof. It was like
Yeah.
250% after that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
uh, it was crazy, but it's just small tweaks like that can make a big difference.
Every time, every time. And those decisions that we were making about the store and the process, those were based on data. That
Mhm.
wasn't based on, um, we think it would be nice to do whatever this is. We think it's
Right.
cool to add this thing. Um, in the 90s, it was flashing banners and,
Yeah, yeah.
stupid looking,
Look here,
twirly
look here,
things.
look here, look here, look
Right,
here,
yeah,
look here.
no. And that ship has sailed. That doesn't work anymore. It just turns people off. So, but back to the beginning of our conversation, when we make decisions based on real data, how people are using the site, there are tools like you can look at Lucky Orange or Hotjar and look at heat maps on how people are using web pages
Yeah.
on the site and get real data. I was working on a project um, with another partner a few years ago. We installed, it was Hotjar we used on that one. And it turned out that people were clicking on a thing that wasn't even a link.
No, no.
It's like click, 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 hundreds of clicks on this one image that wasn't even a. So guess what we did? We installed a link on
Yeah.
that thing because everybody wanted to go someplace. So
Right.
that's how you make
Yeah.
those
I mean,
decisions.
that's how you let the data talk. I mean,
That's right.
who knew that people wanted that to be a link?
I wouldn't have guessed it,
Yeah.
but there it was. So we just put a link there. Makes people happy.
Yeah.
And then the store owner's happy because they're making more sales. So that
Right.
is always a helpful thing. Let's talk for a minute. I think the next thing it's kind of a leap, but also part of something that we have to put into design, but it's compliance issues. So compliance means things like GDPR, which is the European cookie disclosure, CCPA. There's another one coming out of California this summer, and other states. I think Virginia is lined up to go live with theirs. Puerto Rico is lined up to go live with their privacy disclosure. And Puerto Rico's is supposed to be pretty stiff also. But, other things like privacy policy, terms of service, physical address, copyright information. All these things have to be incorporated into the site, and the site still has to look good and work properly.
Yep.
No small
Yeah.
feat.
Yeah. No pressure.
Mm, no.
Yeah.
So
All those
yeah,
things are definitely important. From I'm sure anybody's gone and seen, the cookie things pop up
yeah,
on the sites now, along with all the other things that pop up on the site. And yeah, making sure that it's still a decent user experience using that, right? For the
mhm,
privacy and the terms, I mean, it depends on where you are. I would definitely recommend like purchasing that from somebody or a lawyer. If you're making some money, it's better to be protected by somebody that knows what they're writing about. Or there's companies that they'll write it for you.
yeah.
uh,
How many times do I meet someone and we're right at the beginning of the association between them and us, and I'm doing the audit on the business, and I look in the footer of the website, and none of the required information is there. So the site is out of all kinds of compliance. So it's,
Right.
but again, it has to look pretty.
Yeah, and those should be like standard items that you add in on every site,
Yeah.
right? So the developer, if you've hired a developer, that should be standard. You shouldn't, that shouldn't be a thing after the fact of,
Right.
oh, we forgot about that.
Yeah.
Footer should just it should be very clean. You can still make it clean, but
Hmm.
the details have to be there,
Right.
said, for
Right.
compliance.
Compliance is a huge issue. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it because it's not as much fun. Let's talk about inventory for e-commerce businesses, because that's something that when you're going, for example, from a brick and mortar store, which may have, you know, 200 or 300 SKUs,
Mhm.
um, and then you go to an online store. One of the biggest questions is, do you want to put the whole offline store online? Um, I've had clients who did very, very well with one product stores, and they had one product and they push it out there and they're making, 5 figures a day on this one product store. Um, but then I've had others that had, tens of thousands of SKUs. And it's only because what they're offering, they haven't removed stuff that they're either out of stock on, which, by the way, creates a nightmare problem for running catalog ads. So, that's a matter of housekeeping. But it's also like, how many products do you want to offer? And one of the other questions that I always run into is, if you're going to lead your digital marketing campaigns with, say, two or three of your best products, is that going to get you the result? Because you always have to think forward. Is that going to get the result that you want, to be able to say, okay, these sales represent our customers, and we're going to sell to them for an infinite amount of time. So you always have to think of the lifetime value of the customer. There's an inventory question about that. Like, what are the best sellers? So am I going to sell them this particular cargo bag, whatever, carry, tote, whatever it is? And does that purchaser lead me to selling them something else down the road? So, the digital store, the online store, may be managed differently than the brick and mortar. Um, anyway, it's just part of the planning. All this. You and I spent a lot of time talking about planning with these
Yeah, no,
things.
I think in that example, there's a boutique that's close to where we live, and my wife goes in there, and I just kind of go in there, and I'm like, okay. But there's like, it seems to me like there's 87,000 different products,
Yeah.
little trinkets and things like that. I don't think you should put all of that on the website.
No.
You know what I mean? Pick out maybe some higher ticket items. Choose some of your best sellers. I mean, still fill out the site,
Right.
but it doesn't, like you said, you don't have to do the entire catalog, because then that just becomes a nightmare.
It is.
If you
It is.
have if you have like one-off items and stuff like that, just sell them in the store.
Mm,
Or if they've been in the store for 3 months, then put them online and just keep them online.
yeah.
Kind of, you just got to kind of play with it a little bit just to see what's going to work best. But yeah, I mean, sell the products are going to sell online, and then just kind of, you have that little middle range area of products that sell okay or maybe not sell okay, or
Mhm.
so trying to piece that together, of course, is challenging. Not everybody
Well, we
has the correct
test.
result, but yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean, we could test. We could
it.
say, okay, we're going to feature these
Goes
two
back.
products for 3 months,
Hmm.
a quarter or across 2 quarters, and say, okay, we're going to aim to sell X to this audience, because products are always about who we're selling to, right?
Yeah.
So, are we going to feature these 2 or 5 products in the store? Um, and how are we going to do that? And if we get good results, what are we going to sell them next?
Right.
So that's a robust marketing
Yeah. How do you keep them
program.
coming back?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, good customer experience on the site, quick shipping, they get the product. Another thing too is packaging.
Oh,
Um,
packaging. Yeah.
that's that's super important because that's your first impression with them. Realistically,
Yep.
hands-on impression whenever you buy something online. I mean,
Hmm.
Amazon has the custom tape. That's about it.
Yep.
But Amazon doesn't necessarily need it. I've seen quite a few that just they have some really nice either bubble wrap or if it's in a box and they have a card and in I mean, it may seem pointless to spend that extra money to do that, but in the long term, like you said, we're looking long term. We're not just looking for one sale. We're
That's right.
looking for a long-term customer, and building that relationship through the packaging is very important.
Hmm. No, it's huge. It really is, and it doesn't have to be super expensive.
Right.
If you're at a point in your business where you can only afford white boxes, just make sure they don't feel like cheap boxes. And you can get, I don't know the cost of those little, maybe a 3-inch gold foil sticker with your business name on it.
Yeah,
Get a roll of those and stick it on the box, and throw a little bit of confetti packing in there, or
sure.
some ecologically responsible shipping, padding, and it's not expensive.
Yeah, and I would say even like you can get a postcard done and just like a handwritten note.
Yeah.
Something easy. Go to
Yep.
Instagram, share it on Instagram
Mm-hmm.
or Facebook or wherever the
Speaking of
target is.
packaging and postcards, if you're selling on Amazon, and we've got a way of helping with that. So if a business is, um, let's say you're running your own store, but you also should have some component of your business on Amazon, because Amazon is the largest shopping search engine in the world. There's just no way around it. If I do a Google search, I want information. If I'm on Facebook, I want to watch baby panda videos and just leave me alone. But if I'm on Amazon, I'm buying something, right?
Yeah,
So every business should have some component on Amazon. And we've got probably off the top 5 different ways to help companies get there. So if you're selling something, even if it's information, it should be on Amazon. But the thing is, um, the packaging, Amazon keeps all of your customers. They say, no, 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 you can't contact these people. But what businesses are doing is putting an insert in there. You
hmm,
put in a postcard or a letter or a business card with a website, and then push them from Amazon over to your website. Grab the email opt in or the SMS text contact, and go from there. You're not going to get 100%, but you are going to get more exposure adding Amazon as a revenue stream, um, than leaving it off.
yeah, absolutely. And I think, offering a discount code is enticing for them
Yeah.
to go to the site. One thing that we've talked about quite a bit recently is the newsletter collection, how
Oh
important
yeah.
that is.
Right.
Um, because of all the privacy changes and all of that, having your list is it's gold, right? What did you compare it? You compared it to something the other day. Like we were going back to 1994 or something with all the emails. I don't remember what it was, but
I don't remember.
it's kind of it's cyclical, right?
Hmm.
Like it's coming back around, just like trends come back around. um I mean,
Email is not dead.
it's always been there,
Hmm.
right? No,
Yep.
it's most certainly not dead. I mean,
Hmm.
we're starting to do custom HTML newsletters
Yes.
for automotive dealerships. And so
Exactly.
it's just it's still a thing, and it's probably growing even in more popularity because of the way that social media is going and has been going, um, and just not allowing us to even reach the people that you know go to these stores or sign up for
Right.
this stuff.
Right. Exactly. So, when you get somebody's email address and you have permission to email them on commercial, you know, communications, whatever it is that you have to say. I mean, your automotive people, they want to sell cars or sell service to cars,
Hmm.
um, or sell leasing, options, whatever that particular client is. If you if you just relying on one touch to the sale, it's just not going to happen.
Right.
But email is a fantastic way. In fact, put in a plug. I've got a book coming out next month about email for e-commerce, and that'll be on Amazon. So I'll put that in the show notes too. But
Look forward to that one.
yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it and getting it out there. Today's episode is sponsored by Bold Apps. Bold offers a full suite of proven apps for Shopify and Shopify Plus to help you grow your online store, all backed by industry leading support, including bundles, upsells, subscriptions, and a whole lot more. Find them at boldcommerce.com. So, I guess the last thing that we wanted to touch on was traffic and what's possible. I've worked with clients who are boutiques and businesses of all kinds in tiny little towns, 4,000 people. And it would be unwieldy to try to build enough residential, like, a 300 unit apartment building to try to bring people to the area to make more sales. Going online is the next and a far more viable option to do that. So, as we were just talking about email marketing, SMS, text messaging, content marketing, every business can have content, whether it's blogs, books, courses, and reach people in a huge variety of ways. So one of the things that we notice, got one particular client who's in a very small town, and sells women's clothing and accessories. She wanted to get more business. She wanted to find more people. I'm in a town of 25,000 people. How do I find more people? Nobody's driving here accidentally. How do we find more people? So we went online and, just with some really minimal effort and very basic marketing, increased her store volume by, I'm trying to remember the percentage off the top, but like we're accidentally making an additional 10,000 a month,
Yeah.
in her store. But the numbers are different. So she's not going to have 500,000 people extra walking through the store, nor would she want to. The cleanup would be horrendous.
Right.
But adding 500,000 impressions or 500,000 reach in the store to be able to, collect people. And then the magic of advertising retargeting is
Hmm.
beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody came on the store once, we can grab them again
Yeah.
on the same ad
Absolutely.
platform or another. So,
Well, and another thing too is collecting the people's email addresses that purchase in store.
mhm,
Obviously, you can use that data to find lookalike audiences.
that's
So
right.
it's kind of there's a lot of different ways to do things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And
but
it's
like you
fun.
said, I mean, for these smaller companies, in these really small towns, it's hard for them to reach people that would definitely like their product. They have no idea about it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that, I grew up in the in the 70s. So we didn't have the internet. We had telephones, but we didn't have the internet. And I used to be able to go downtown and see people. I knew the shopkeepers. You know, I could go into the butcher shop. I could go into the toy store. I could go into the bicycle store and know people and, you know, see what they were selling. And, you know, Main Street today, you know, especially in the current, you know, it's January 2022. How many businesses have we seen go out of business in the last 2 years, you know, with all the lockdowns and everything?
Too many,
Way
too
too
many.
many. And it's not a requirement. You know, when you've got access to the internet, and almost everybody does now, and, you know, doing business online is a very inexpensive proposition to start, and it
I
can
th-
get as big as you want.
yeah, I think you can actually kind of tie those two together. So you're talking about getting to know the shopkeepers, it's stuff like that. One way the shopkeepers can kind of make people feel like they know them is through podcasting, through videos, Facebook lives, like get their personality out there. And I'm sure a lot of them do a lot of that already,
Mhm.
or maybe they don't, but having people kind of know you before they get there, and then that kind of helps with that small town feel
Yeah.
of, oh, this is so and so that owns this shop, and look at all this great stuff. And then there's that personal connection that's kind of, I don't want to say built, but like kind of fabricated a little bit.
Mhm.
But it's still a connection that
Yeah.
the customer feels with the shop owner.
Mhm.
And maybe it's the story that they relate to. Maybe the shopkeeper went through a lot to open the store, and they survived COVID and all of that. But I think there's so many different ways to get out there and form that relationship without having to go necessarily shake their hand.
Right. Right. But it is the next best thing, and
Yeah,
it's a
it's the next
great way to,
best thing.
you know, you can add 100 million people to your reach in a very short period of time and still live in a tiny little town. So
Yeah,
it's really
still
it's the
have
best of both worlds.
still have your store how you want to.
Mhm.
You're able to reach more people that can make buying decisions and increase your revenue, and make it easier on yourself, or harder,
That's
I
right.
guess, depends on how much you're selling.
Yeah, I mean it's extra. You're not necessarily, so it's not like flipping a switch. And whoever started that myth,
Yeah.
I'm mad at them. Just for the
Yeah.
record, it's recording here. I'm mad at them because you don't just build a website and have people come. And you don't build a website, throw up some ads and have people come and, you know, revolutionize your store. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
But, you know, with the proper information, the right setup, um, over a little bit of time, certainly not like what it used to be, you can do
Yeah, I
very
mean,
well.
I think time is going to be dependent upon the audience too,
Mhm.
and the ticket price.
Mhm.
So there's all kinds of things that go into this stuff.
Lots.
But yes, I agree. I mean, you can't just build a completely new website and then all of a sudden expect to be showing up number one on Google for a certain keyword.
No.
It just doesn't. That's not how it works these days.
No, not anymore. Used to be.
Unfortunately, like it's not under, like we can't control it necessarily. We can do things to improve it, but there's no way for everybody to be number one for a keyword. It
Mhm.
just it has to rank somehow, right?
Yep.
So that's the work that has to be put in on the in the long term through SEO and stuff like that. But then short term is paid ads and Google ads and getting people in that way.
Mhm.
I think maybe Facebook ads is probably a better way of targeting an audience that is probably a cold audience. Um, Google ads is definitely people with search intent that are looking
Mhm.
for that specific product. So, as we kind of send it all back to data, I mean,
Yeah.
it's looking at where people are coming from, and what are they looking for something, or are we telling them that they're looking for something that they need? Um, it's just, there's a lot to it, but it's fun.
So before we go down that rabbit hole of discovery and search intent and interest and stuff, we'll save that for another conversation. I'll
Do,
have you
do a part
back.
two.
Yeah, we'll do a part two. But Cameron, I want to thank you very much for being with me today, having this conversation in front of all of our new friends. Um, I'll put your contact information in the show notes, and people can reach out to you, to me. You and I work together. They've got all kinds of options for help. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that, and definitely thank you for having me on. And yeah, let's go do some more work.
Do some more good work. All right. Thanks so much.
All
Talk to you
right.
soon. You've been listening to the Traffic Handler Podcast. We're about getting new customers, making more sales, and growing your e-commerce retail business. I'm your host, Amy Biddle. Get more at amybiddle.me. And until next time, go sell more stuff.